Oh yes, just look at that view. It is good to be back up here in the mountains. I have kickstarted my winter off by coming here to Hintertux in Austria. And if you guys want to extend your season outside of those normal winter months, I can really recommend checking this place out. It is awesome. Now, I've been thinking a lot over the summer about what is really at the heart, what is at the core of every single good snowboarding turn, regardless if you're on something steep, if you're off-piste, or if you're just on a mellow beginner slope. What is something fundamental that's there in every good turn? And I've distilled it down to a very simple and easy to follow two-step sequence and just one rule you need to implement within that sequence. And by doing that, it will allow you to snowboard well. And by definition, because this is so crucial to snowboarding, if you don't do these things, if you don't follow this sequence, and if you don't implement this rule, you will be snowboarding bad. Now, what do I mean by bad snowboarding? Well, you're going to be doing something like kicking the back foot out, skidding the board around, basically losing grip and losing control. So let's get the board on, let's do some riding, and let me show you this sequence, this easy to follow sequence, and this easy to implement rule. So you may well be thinking, if I'm doing some of those things, if you feel yourself kicking the back foot out, skidding, losing grip, it's all got to be down to technique, right? But I want to show you that by following this sequence that I'm about to tell you, and by implementing this one rule, you can in fact ride pretty well with bad technique. So let's twist my arms completely around the wrong way. Let's ride as tall as I can. Whoa, I feel every vibration through the board, but I'm still leaving a pretty thin line. I had to absorb that little bump with my knees there. And how about let's ride with some really bad posture. Let's completely bend at the waist here. But as you can see, I'm still leaving a nice thin line behind me. So what is that sequence that I'm following, and what is that one rule that I'm implementing? Well, the sequence is very simple. It has two steps. First step is edge change, and next step is turn. Okay? And what I mean by that is that I don't want you to confuse the edge change with the turn. When you change edge, you shouldn't be trying to rotate the board or twist the board. You're just trying to roll the board from one edge to the other. That will allow the new edge to grip in the snow, and then once the edge change has been completed, the turn starts. So I'm in the turn phase now. Once I finish the turn, edge change. Now I'm in the turn again. And then I do another edge change. And what this allows the board to do is kind of sit in a track. There's no rotation here at the edge change. So when I roll from one edge to the other, the board then kind of slots into that track, grips in the snow, and pulls you through the turn. And this sequence you'll follow for any kind of turn on any terrain, okay? Edge change and then turn. Here it's completely flat, but I'm still following that sequence. I'm in the turn phase here, I'm slightly on my edge change, back into the turn, okay? I'm barely turning at all, but I still edge change and then turn. In a moment, it's about to get a little bit steeper, so you'll see me completing more of the turn, holding onto the board through the arc of the turn. Here we go. Turn, edge change, back into the turn. Now, what is the one rule that you simply must implement to allow you to do this? Well, again, it's very simple, and it goes like this. You just need to cross your center of mass over the board. It needs to pass from behind the board on the heel edge to in front of the board on the toe edge, and vice versa from the toes to the heels. But you've got to cross your center of mass over the board at the edge change. And that is the key thing that is at the heart of every good snowboard turn. At every edge change, the center of mass will cross over the top of the board. So let me just show you that a little bit. Turn, center of mass over the board. Center of mass over the board. And there's lots of different techniques and different ways to do this, and I've talked about these in lots of my videos. At the moment, I'm doing an up unweighted turn when I come up, cross over the board. You can drop down at the edge change and pass your hips over the board like that. You can use your feet, your ankle and your knees independently to help make quick edge changes. But as you can see, my center of mass still has to pass over the board at every single edge change. And it passes perpendicular to the board. So if my board is pointing this way and I'm traveling this way, my center of mass goes like at a right angle to that over the board. Ooh, there's a little bit of soft snow here. It works in all snow conditions. Cross my center of mass over the board, follow that same sequence of turn and then edge change. And now I want to show you what happens if you don't do that. If you don't cross your center of mass over the board at the edge change, because if it's essential for good snowboarding, then it should be impossible to do a good turn without crossing your center of mass over the board. Maybe this is getting a little bit confusing, but let me just quickly show you. So I'm on my heel edge, I'm not crossing my center of mass over the board, but I can bring my board under my center of mass by kicking the back foot out. Watch this again here. Center of mass stays in the same place, kick the back foot out, and that allows me to pass the board under my center of mass. And this is probably one of the most common mistakes in snowboarding. Yes, I'm still turning, but it's very, very skiddy. It's like my front foot is a pivot point and I'm just not getting any grip through my board. This might be something you don't find yourself doing on mellow slopes like this, but when it gets steeper, you kind of panic and you kick that back foot out. And if you do that, rather than crossing your center of mass over the board, you're passing your board under your center of mass, which means you're never going to get a nice grippy turn. It's going to basically mean your edge changes are going to suck. So I wanted to start off the winter with this video because it's really important to understand this kind of simple theory of good snowboarding. Edge change is separate from the turn. You make the edge change by crossing your center of mass over the board, and then you lock into the turn and allow the side cut of the board to pull you round the arc of the turn. If you aren't doing that, there's no point in practicing any of the other techniques I've talked about. There's no point in practicing retraction turns or knee steering or anything, because no matter how hard you try to do that, if you're simply not crossing your center of mass over the board at the edge change, and if you're not going edge change and then turn, none of those things will help you. Okay? So to carry on improving your edge changes, check out this video up here. It's one of my favorite edge change exercises, and you can also watch this one down below that goes through edge change drills from worst to best. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to make some more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.